Part 5, we stand with you. The silence after the nebula ignition lasted exactly 17 seconds. Then the scanners detected something impossible. Movement in the debris field, ships, Krell ships, hundreds of thousands of them, damaged but functional, emerging from the edges of the blast. How? Someone whispered on the command bridge. Intelligence Officer Seo Jin's face went pale. They were not all inside. I miscalculated. The swarm was larger than we thought. Much larger. These were just their outer formations. Admiral Jiwan felt her heart sink. They had sacrificed 40 ships, thousands of lives, and the Krell kept coming. They had not broken the swarm. They had only made it angry. All ships, battle stations, she ordered. Her voice was steady even though her hands shook. Prepare for engagement. The remaining Krell surged forward. The Accord fleet moved to intercept. 3,000 ships against hundreds of thousands. The math was simple. The math was death. On what remained of the Council worlds, people watched the feeds in horror. They had thought they were saved. They had thought the sacrifice of the blocking force meant victory. Now they understood. The war was not over. It had barely begun. Former Chancellor Vextar stood in the Council chamber. It was nearly empty now. Most representatives had fled. But a few remained. The ones who had voted to abandon the Theros. The ones who had chosen politics over principle. He looked at them. I have spent my entire life serving the Council. Protecting Council interests. Expanding Council power. His voice was quiet. I told myself I was serving the greater good. I told myself difficult choices were necessary. I told myself that sentiment was weakness. He walked to the window. Outside, evacuation ships were still launching. Millions more people fleeing. I was wrong about everything, he said. Humanity showed me that. The Accord showed me that. They did not calculate. They did not debate. They did not measure lives by strategic value. They simply acted because it was right. Because people needed help. One of the remaining representatives spoke. What can we do? Our fleet is under Accord command. Our resources are depleted. We are powerless. Vextar turned. For the first time in his long life, he saw clearly. Then we do what humanity did when they were powerless. We fight anyway. We contribute what we can. We stand with those who need us. He walked toward the door. The Council is finished. But maybe we can still do something useful before the end. In space, the battle began. It was nothing like Neridos. That had been a fight. This was a slaughter. The Krell had learned. They did not cluster. They did not give easy targets. They swarmed from every direction at once. Lieutenant Hana's fighter squadron was wiped out in the first 5 minutes. She saw her wingmates die one by one. Theros ships burst open, water freezing instantly. Threnody vessels shattered like glass. Human fighters exploded in silent fireballs. Her own ship was hit. Systems failed. Life support flickered. She was drifting, powerless, waiting for the next hit to finish her. All surviving fighters fall back to the carriers, the command ordered. But there was no falling back. The Krell were everywhere. Hana watched her fuel gauge hit 0. Watched her oxygen counter drop. She had maybe 15 minutes of air left. Well, she said to herself, at least I tried. Then her radio crackled. Fighter 27, this is Merchant Vessel Hope's Chance. We see you, stay calm. We are coming, a civilian ship. A merchant. It had no weapons, no armor. But it flew toward her through the battle, dodging Krell fire. A cargo door opened. Magnetic grapples caught her fighter and pulled it inside. The door closed. Pressure returned. Anna popped her canopy and saw a dozen faces looking at her. Civilians, ordinary people, a Makir merchant, a human shop owner, a Theros family. Why? She asked. You could have run. You should have run. The human shop owner smiled. And let you die out there? Not a chance. We saw what you did at Neridos. We saw the blocking force. You have been standing for us. Now we stand for you. Across the battle space, the same scene repeated. Civilian ships diving into combat zones to rescue damaged military vessels. Merchants using their cargo holds as impromptu hospitals. Tourist ships carrying wounded to safety. The galaxy's ordinary people, the ones politicians always forgot, stepping forward. On Earth, every able person volunteered. Too old for the military? Then load supplies. Too young? Then sort medical equipment. Disabled? Then coordinate communications. Everyone found something to do. Everyone contributed. Dr. June worked in a field hospital on a station near the battle. The wounded came in waves. He operated for 36 hours straight. His hands shook with exhaustion. His eyes burned. But he kept working. A young Threnody warrior was brought in. His crystal body cracked almost in half. By all medical knowledge, he should be dead. But June had learned things fighting at Neridos. He had learned that determination mattered, that refusing to quit mattered. "Get me the crystal sealer," he ordered, "and somebody find me a Threnody medic. I need to know their anatomy better." A Threnody civilian stepped forward. "I am a sculptor, not a medic, but I know crystal structure. I can help." Together they worked, the medic and the sculptor, human and Threnody. They sealed the cracks. They stabilized the warrior. Against all odds, his light patterns began pulsing again, weak but alive. June nearly collapsed with relief. "We need more hands. Anyone who wants to help, we will teach you. We will figure it out together." The hospital filled with volunteers. Different species, different skills, all working together, learning together, saving together. Engineer Minji led the repair teams. Ships came back damaged, sometimes barely holding together. Her teams worked miracles with spare parts and determination. Threnody crystals to patch human hulls. Human welding techniques adapted for Theros bioships. Makir organic patches grown over Solith energy conduits. "Nothing matches," one engineer complained. "These fixes are not in any manual." "Then we write a new manual," Minji said. "Every problem has a solution. We just have to find it. Keep working." Admiral Jiwan watched her fleet slowly crumble. They were losing. For every Krell ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. The numbers did not lie. They could not win, but they could not quit. "All ships maintain formation," she ordered. "Every minute we hold is another minute for civilians to evacuate. Every Krell ship we destroy here is one less attacking a refugee convoy. We hold, no matter what." The Accord fleet contracted. Damaged ships formed the inner ring, protecting the carriers and support vessels. Fresh ships took the outer positions. They fought not for victory, but for time. On the flag bridge, strategist Minji worked frantically. There had to be something. Some weakness. Some pattern. She had studied the Krell for months. There had to be something. Then she saw it. A pattern in their movement. The Krell coordinated through some kind of central command node. Not a single ship, but a formation. A specific geometric pattern of vessels that acted as the swarm's brain. "Admiral," she called, "I found something. If we can break their command formation, the swarm will lose coordination." Jiwan looked at the tactical display. The command formation was deep in the Krell swarm. Reaching it would require punching through thousands of ships. "Suicide. Show me," she said. Minji highlighted the target. "Here. These 17 ships maintain a perfect geometric pattern. They never break formation, even during combat. I think they are the command structure. Destroy them, and the swarm becomes just individual ships. How do we reach them?" "We do not," Minji said quietly. "But a small fast force might. Fighters, maybe a few corvettes. A suicide run." Jiwan stared at the display. More lives. More sacrifice. How many times could she ask people to die? The answer came before she could speak. The volunteer channel lit up. Hundreds of ships, military and civilian, human and alien. "All volunteers, this is Merchant Vessel Hope's Chance," a voice said. "We are not fighters, but we can fly. Point us at the target." "Theros Defense Wing," another called. "We are in. We owe humanity a debt. Time to pay it." Threnody Crystal Squadron. "We volunteer. Makir Organic Fleet. We stand ready," more and more voices, until Jiwan could not count them all. The galaxy's people standing together, not because politicians ordered it, because it was right. Lieutenant Hana was still aboard the Hope's Chance. She looked at the merchant who had saved her. "You do not have to do this. You are civilians. We are people," the merchant said. "Same as you. Same as everyone fighting out there. You stood for us. Now we stand for you. That is what the Accord means, right?" Hana felt tears in her eyes. "Right." The volunteer force formed up. Hundreds of ships, military fighters alongside civilian freighters. Sleek Threnody crystals next to bulky Makir organics. Every species. Every class. Everyone together. Admiral Jiwan addressed them. "I cannot order you to do this. I cannot promise you will survive. I cannot even promise it will work." She paused. "But if you succeed, you will save billions. You will show the galaxy what we fight for. You will prove that unity is stronger than any swarm." She looked at each ship on her display, each light representing lives, representing choice. representing courage. You asked what the accord means, she said. This is what it means. We stand with you always, now go. Make it count, the volunteer force launched. They flew in no formation, no tactics, just straight at the target, every ship giving everything. The Krell tore into them. Ships exploded. People died. But the force kept going. Part 4. The Swarm Ascendant. The first Council world fell on a Tuesday. The planet Korthax, home to 12 billion souls, went silent in 48 hours. The Krell swarm descended like a living nightmare, consuming everything. By the time Council forces arrived, there was nothing left to save. Just a blackened ball of dead rock. Strategist Minji watched the aftermath footage in Earth Command. She had been promoted quickly, too quickly, some said. But Admiral Jiwan trusted her mind for tactics. Now that mind raced, analyzing everything. They are not fighting like they did at Neritos, she told the command staff. They learned. They adapted. They hit fast, hit hard, move on before we can respond. Can we stop them? General Hyunwoo asked. Not with Council tactics, Minji said. She pulled up battle recordings. Look at this. The Council fleet forms defensive lines. Traditional formations. Shield walls and firing patterns. The Krell just flow around them like water. They do not care about formations. They do not care about casualties. They just consume and move. Admiral Jiwan studied the data. What do you recommend? We need to think differently, Minji said. The Council fights for territory. They fight to hold ground. But the Krell do not care about ground. They care about consumption. So we do not fight to hold. We fight to trap. 3 more worlds fell in the next 2 weeks. The Council forces won some battles, lost more. Their fleets were powerful but slow. Designed for peacetime patrol, not total war. Ships built for show, not survival. Chancellor Vextar appeared on screens across the galaxy. He looked older now. His 3 eyes dimmed with stress. I am asking all species to contribute their full military strength, he announced. We face extinction. Politics must wait. Survival comes first. But the Accord species had already mobilized. They had been preparing for months. While the Council debated, the Accord trained. While the Council counted costs, the Accord built weapons. President Sung Ho received Vextar's private message that evening. It appeared on his personal screen, bypassed all security. Desperate times, desperate measures, please. The message said simply. Help us, I know we do not deserve it. But the innocent people dying, they deserve it, please. Sung Ho called an emergency meeting. The Accord leaders appeared on hologram screens. Naltros from Neritos, Crystal Leader Velsharn of the Threnody, Queen Tikra of the Makir, Energy Form Prime of the Solith, a dozen others. The Chancellor requests our help, Sung Ho said. What say you? Silence for a moment. Then Naltros spoke. They abandoned us. They called our lives strategically insignificant. They deserve to feel that abandonment. Many voices agreed. The anger was real. The hurt was deep, but Ambassador Deho raised his hand. When we went to Neritos, we did not ask if the Theros deserved saving. We did not calculate if they had earned our help. We went because it was right. Because people needed us, he paused. The Council leaders made terrible choices. But the billions of civilians dying did not make those choices. They are victims too. Velsharn's crystal body flashed with conflicting patterns. You ask us to save those who would not save us? I ask you to be better than them, Deho said. That is what the Accord means. We do not save only those who deserve it. We save those who need it, all of them. The vote was not unanimous, but it passed. The Accord would help. Not for the Council, for the innocent, the response went public. Admiral Jiwan herself delivered it, broadcast across every channel. The Accord will provide military assistance to all threatened worlds. Not under Council command, not following Council tactics, but we will stand between the Krell and the innocent. As we have always done, as we will always do. Then she said something that shocked the galaxy. All Council military assets will be placed under Accord command. No negotiations. You want our help, you follow our plans, or die alone. Vextar had no choice. The Council voted 13-0 to accept Accord leadership. For the first time in galactic history, the Council dissolved itself, even if temporarily. Vextar signed the papers with shaking hands. I resign as Chancellor, he announced. I place myself and all Council forces under Admiral Jiwan's command. He looked directly into the camera. I was wrong. We were wrong. If we survive this, may the galaxy never forget our failure. It was the most honest thing he had ever said. The Accord mobilized everything. Every ship, every soldier, every engineer. Strategist Minji presented her plan to the combined forces. "We cannot fight them everywhere," she said. "They are too many, too fast, so we do not try. We give them a path. We evacuate 6 systems, make them tempting targets. We let them consume empty worlds while we move the people to safety." "Abandon 6 systems?" A council admiral looked horrified. "That is treason. That is survival," Minji said coldly. "Those systems are already lost. We are just acknowledging it. But we choose which systems. We choose the path. And we choose where the path leads." She brought up a star map. "The Volanus Nebula. Dense, unstable, full of radiation. The Krell will pass through it to reach the core worlds. And when they do, we will be waiting." Engineer Minji explained the next part. "The nebula is naturally volatile. We do not need to destroy the Krell ships individually. We just need to ignite the nebula. Turn the entire region into a star. Can that be done?" someone asked. "Yes," Minji said. "I have already designed the devices. Threnody radiation crystals, Makir sensors for timing, Soleth energy capacitors, human explosives. We place them at key points. When the Krell enter the nebula, we trigger them all at once." "And our ships?" Admiral Jiwan asked. Minji hesitated. "Some will not escape the ignition radius. We would need to position ships to ensure the Krell do not retreat. Those ships would not make it out." The room fell silent. They were talking about deliberate sacrifice, about ordering people to certain death. General Hyunwoo spoke quietly. "How many ships?" "At least 40, Minji said. "To cover all exit vectors, 40 ships. Thousands of people. Gone in an instant when the nebula ignited. I will lead the blocking force," Hyunwoo said. "No," Jiwon said immediately. "I need you alive. You are too valuable." "Which is exactly why I should lead," Hyunwoo said. "The crews need to see that their leaders are not asking them to die alone. They need to see that we share the risk." He was right. They all knew it. But that did not make it easier. The evacuation began. 6 star systems, billions of people. It was the largest humanitarian operation in history. Every civilian ship helped. Merchants, tourists, private yachts. Everyone who could carry people did. Captain Hana led the fighter cover. Her squadron had grown, now including Theros pilots and modified fighters, Threnody in crystal ships that needed no cockpits, Makir in organic vessels grown from their own bodies. "Stay tight," she ordered. "Watch each other's backs. We get every civilian out." The Krell came as predicted. They found the evacuated worlds and consumed them. Empty cities. Abandoned stations. Nothing living. They moved on quickly, following the trail of refugees, following the path toward the nebula. In orbit above one evacuating world, former Chancellor Vexitar worked alongside human dock workers, loading civilians onto ships. He wore no badge of rank. No one recognized him at first. He was just another worker, lifting boxes, directing traffic. A human supervisor did recognize him eventually. "Chancellor?" "Not anymore," Vexitar said. "Just a volunteer. Where do you need these supplies?" The supervisor stared, then pointed. "Bay 12. And thank you." Vexitar nodded and kept working. It would not undo his mistakes. But maybe it was a start. The Krell swarm entered the nebula on schedule. Millions of ships, so many they blocked out the stars. Intelligence officer Seo Jin watched from the command ship, tracking their movements. "They are all in," she reported. "The entire swarm." Admiral Jiwan took a deep breath. "General Hyunwoo, are your forces in position?" On 40 ships scattered around the nebula's edge, crews prepared. Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of his vessel looking at the faces around him. Humans. Theros. Threnody. Makir. All of them volunteers, all of them knowing what was coming. "We are ready," he said. Jiwon closed her eyes briefly. "Make your peace. And thank you. Every one of you." Hyunwoo smiled. He thought about the Theros plea for help months ago. He thought about Neridos, about Commander Tae Yang's sacrifice. He thought about why they fought. "To all ships in the blocking force," he broadcast. "It has been an honor. Remember what we stand for. Remember who we protect. Let them see our light." He opened a channel to his family on Earth. His mother answered, her face already wet with tears. She knew, everyone knew. The blocking force's mission was no secret. "Mom," he said, "I love you.
Tell Dad I love him."
Tell everyone I am proud. Proud of humanity. Proud of the Accord. Proud to stand with all these people. Come home," she whispered. I am home, he said gently. Wherever people need defending, that is home. That is what you and Dad taught me. The channel closed. He looked at his crew. All stations battle ready. Wait for the signal. Make every second count. The Krell moved deeper into the nebula. Seo-jin counted down. Optimal position in 10 seconds, 9, 8. Admiral Ji-won's finger hovered over the trigger. 40 ships, thousands of lives. But billions saved. Maybe trillions. The math was clear. The choice was brutal. 3, 2, 1. Ignite, Ji-won whispered. Part 3. The Galactic Reckoning Reporter. Yuna stood on the beach of Neridos, her camera floating beside her. The sand was black where the Krell had been. But further down the shore, Theros children played in the waves again. Human engineers worked alongside Theros builders, reconstructing a city, the sound of hammers and drills mixed with laughter. This is day 42 after the battle. Yuna spoke into her microphone. The humans refuse to leave. They say their job is not done. They patrol the skies. They help rebuild homes. They share their food, their medicine, their time. She turned the camera to show a human soldier teaching Theros children how to play soccer in the shallow water. The Galactic Council abandoned these people. Humanity stayed. The broadcast reached every corner of known space. Within hours, it had 1 billion views. Within days, 100 billion. Everyone was watching. Everyone had an opinion. On the Threnody homeworld, massive crystalline beings gathered in their thought halls. They did not speak with voices, but with light patterns that flashed through their transparent bodies. The patterns showed shame and anger. We voted no, one elder flashed. We said the Theros were not worth the cost. We were wrong, another responded. The humans showed us what honor means. On Makir Station, the insectoid Makir clicked and buzzed in their council chambers. The humans are fools, some argued. They waste resources on sentiment, but others disagreed. Humans gained something more valuable than resources. They gained loyalty. They gained respect. They showed the galaxy who they truly are. The Solith, energy beings who lived in containment suits, debated in their parliament. We should have helped, the opposition leader declared. We should have stood with the Theros. Instead, we hid behind cost calculations while people died. On Earth, Ambassador Deho sat in his office watching the messages pile up. 17 council species wanted to meet. They wanted to apologize. They wanted to explain their votes. They wanted humanity to return to the council. He deleted every message without reading past the first line. A knock on his door. His assistant entered. Sir, Chancellor Vextar himself is requesting a meeting. Deho laughed. It was not a kind laugh. Tell the Chancellor that humanity has nothing to say to cowards. Tell him we are busy. Tell him we are on Neridos, where we should have been from the start. The assistant hesitated. Sir, he says it is urgent. He says it is about a new threat. Everything is urgent when you finally face consequences, Deho said. But something in his assistant's face made him stop. What new threat? That night, Intelligence Officer Seo-jin stood before the emergency committee. She was young for such an important position, but she had proven herself during the Neridos crisis. Now her face was pale as she showed them the data. The Krell force at Neridos was not the main swarm, she said. It was a scouting group. We estimate it was less than 2% of their total forces. She brought up a star map. The real swarm is here. Millions of ships. And they are heading toward council space. President Sung-ho leaned forward. How long do we have? 6 months. Maybe less. Seo-jin pulled up more data. The Krell do not forget. We hurt them at Neridos. We showed the galaxy they can be beaten. Now they are coming to make sure that never happens again. They will not stop at one world. They will consume everything. The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral Ji-won spoke. Then we fight them again. With what? A general asked. We lost a third of our fleet at Neridos. We need years to rebuild. We do not have years, Ji-won said. We have 6 months. So we prepare for 6 months, and we find allies. Allies? Sung-ho looked skeptical. The council abandoned the Theros. Why would they fight for us? We do not ask them to fight for us, Ji-won said. We ask them to fight for themselves. The Krell are coming for everyone. The question is whether we face them divided or united. On Neridos, General Hyun-woo received the news. He stood on the balcony of the temporary command center, looking at the ocean. Naltros joined him, moving with the fluid grace of his people. You are troubled, the Theros leader said. The Krell are coming back, Hyun-woo said. Millions of them. We barely survived a few thousand. Naltros was quiet for a moment. What will humanity do? Fight. What else can we do? Hyunwoo looked at him. What will the Theros do? We stand with you, Naltros said immediately. You saved us. You bled for us. Where you go, we go. Where you fight, we fight, he paused. But two species alone cannot stop millions. You know this. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. We need an alliance. Not like the Council. Something different. Something built on trust, not politics. What do you propose? A new treaty, Hyunwoo said. Simple rules. We defend each other. No votes about strategic value. No debates about cost. If you are in completely. We stand together or we fall together. Naltros considered this. Among his people, a promise meant everything. Once given, it was death before dishonor. The Theros Accord, he said. We name it for my world, but it belongs to all who join. The Theros Accord, Hyunwoo repeated. Will other species join? Send the invitation, Naltros said. Let them choose. Let them show what they value. Politics or principle, self-interest or survival. The invitation went out across the galaxy. It was simple. Brutally simple. Join the Theros Accord and commit to mutual defense. No conditions. No escape clauses. Stand together always, the Council species laughed. Humans and their naive idealism, they said. This will never work. No one will join. They were wrong. The Threnody joined first. Their crystal bodies flashed with determination as their leader announced their decision. We were ashamed of our vote. We will not be ashamed again. We stand with the Accord. The Makir came next. Practical analysis suggests this alliance has better survival odds than the Council, their queen declared. Logic supports loyalty. We join. The Solith were third. We abandoned the Theros once. We will not abandon anyone again. We stand with the Accord. Within 2 weeks, 12 species had joined. Not the biggest species. Not the richest. But the ones who understood what was coming. The ones who knew that survival required more than self-interest. Chancellor Vextar watched his council crumble. 3 major species had left. Others were considering it. His emergency session was poorly attended. We must act, he announced. The Theros Accord is undermining galactic stability. Galactic stability? The Threnody ambassador's light pattern showed contempt. You mean the stability of your power. The stability that let you abandon allies. That stability deserves to crumble. Vextar tried to maintain control. We have served the galaxy for 1,000 years. We have maintained peace, facilitated trade, resolved conflicts. And when the Theros needed you, the Makir representative clicked. You counted the cost and found them lacking. Humanity counted something else. They counted what was right. On Earth, Seojin continued her research. The Krell swarm moved steadily closer. She worked 18-hour days analyzing their patterns, trying to find weaknesses. Her team grew as scientists from Accord species joined. Dr. June worked with Theros bioscientists. The Krell had weaknesses. They had beaten them once. They could beat them again, but it would require coordination. It would require every species working together. Admiral G1 visited each Accord world. She met their leaders, their generals, their warriors. She learned their tactics, their technologies, their ways of thinking. The Theros understood three-dimensional combat better than anyone. The Threnody could survive in space without suits. The Makir had sensors that could detect Krell ships before anyone else. We pool everything, she told them. No secrets. No holding back. We train together. We plan together. We fight together. It was revolutionary. Council species never shared their best technology. They competed even as allies. But the Accord was different. They knew that hiding advantages helped no one when extinction came. Engineer Minji led the technology teams. She learned Threnody crystal communication. She adapted Makir sensors for human ships. She took Solith energy shields and made them work with Theros water-based cooling systems. We are creating something new, she told her team. Not human technology. Not Theros or Threnody or any single species. Accord technology, the best of all of us. Back on Neridos, Hyunwoo trained the first mixed species units. It was chaos at first. Humans breathed air. Theros needed water. Threnody fed on radiation. Solith were pure energy. How could they fight together? But they learned. Humans adapted. They always adapted. That was their strength. They built suits that let Theros fight on land. They created radiation generators for Threnody. They designed containment armor for Solith. and slowly, awkwardly, they became a unit. The galaxy watched in fascination. The council species saw their old certainties crumble. The Accord was not perfect. It had problems, miscommunications, cultural conflicts, accidents. But it had something the council had lost. It had purpose. 5 months after Neridos, Ambassador Deho received a message he could not ignore. It came directly from Vextar, encrypted and flagged as personal. "The Krell are 3 weeks away," the message said. "We were wrong. I was wrong. Please, help us." Deho showed the message to President Sung Ho. They sat in silence for a long time. "What do we do?" Sung Ho asked. "We help," Deho said quietly. "Not for Vextar. Not for the Council. For the billions of innocent people who will die if we do not, even after everything." Part 2. The Defense of Neridos. The jump to Neridos felt longer than usual. Lieutenant Hana sat in her fighter cockpit, watching the blue tunnel of faster-than-light travel. Her hands rested on the controls, but there was nothing to do yet. Just wait. Just think about what was coming. She was 24 years old. She had trained for 5 years to fly these fighters. She had run every simulation, passed every test, earned every medal they could give. But simulations did not smell like burning metal. Tests did not have real screams. "All fighters prepare for real space transition," the carrier commander announced. "We arrive in 30 seconds. Hana took a deep breath. Around her, 49 other fighters did the same. She could see them on her display, green dots in perfect formation. They had practiced this 1,000 times. The blue tunnel collapsed. Real space returned, and Hana forgot how to breathe. Neridos was dying. Half the planet was black. Not the black of night, but the black of something consumed. The oceans that should have been blue were covered in writhing masses. Krell ships swarmed everywhere, thousands of them like insects on a corpse. "Oh God," someone whispered over the radio. "Radio discipline," the commander snapped, but his voice shook too. Admiral Jiwan's voice cut through the fear. "All ships, battle positions. Fighters, engage the Krell screening force. Capital ships, focus on the hive vessels. Ground forces, prepare for drop." We knew this would be hard. We came anyway. Let's show them why. The fleet moved forward. 127 human ships against thousands of Krell. The numbers were insane. Hana had done the math in her head during the jump. They should lose. They should die. Every tactical computer said so, but tactical computers did not account for rage. Hana's fighter screamed forward. The Krell ships were biological, grown instead of built. They looked like flying tumors, all wet flesh and dripping acid. Her missiles punched into the nearest one. It burst apart, spraying green blood into the vacuum. "Splash one," she called. Around her, the battle exploded. Human ships moved fast, darting between the slower Krell. They used tactics the Krell had never seen. Feints, ambushes, traps. The Krell fought with numbers and hunger. Humans fought with anger and precision, but there were so many Krell. For every one destroyed, 3 more appeared. On the planet's surface, General Hyunwoo led the ground forces. He had been promoted fast, too fast, but Admiral Jiwan needed commanders she could trust. The drop pods hit the surface hard, crashing into the black Krell mass. Hyunwoo's boots touched alien soil and immediately began burning. Krell acid was everywhere. But the suits held. They had to hold. "Flamethrower teams, advance," he shouted. The Krell had conquered 100 worlds. They had faced every weapon the galaxy had. Lasers, plasma, kinetics. They adapted to all of it. But the galaxy did not use fire anymore. Too primitive, too dangerous, too unpredictable. Humanity disagreed. The flamethrowers roared. The Krell burned. They screamed, if screaming was what that sound was. They tried to adapt, tried to develop resistance, but fire was not something you adapted to. "Fire was absolute. Keep pushing," Hyunwoo ordered. "Drive them back to the sea." Behind the flames, engineers worked frantically. Minji was one of them, her tools flying as she assembled the sonic devices. Dr. June had theorized that the Krell hive mind used sound to communicate. If they could disrupt it, maybe they could confuse the swarm. "Ready," Minji shouted. "Activating now." The device hummed. Then it screamed, a sound beyond human hearing, but the Krell heard it. They convulsed. They scattered. They stopped coordinating. "It works." Hyunwoo could not believe it. "It actually works." In orbit, Admiral Jiwan watched her tactical display. They were holding. Barely. but holding. Human casualties were climbing. 20 ships damaged, 5 destroyed, 3,000 personnel dead. But the Krell advance had stopped. Then she got the message from the Theros, a communication request. She accepted it immediately. A face appeared on her screen, blue skin, large eyes filled with water that might have been tears, gills fluttering with emotion. "I am Naltros," he said, "war leader of the Theros Defense Force. What remains of it?" He stopped, struggling with words. Why are you here? Your council ordered you to stay away. You have lost thousands already. You will lose more. Why would you do this for us?" Ji-won looked at him. She thought about how to answer. She thought about giving a speech, something inspiring and noble. But this warrior did not need speeches. He needed truth. "Because someone has to give a damn," she said simply. "Because we were once told we were not worth saving either. When humans first reached the stars, when we were weak and alone, we asked for help. Most of the galaxy said no. Said we were too primitive, too violent, too risky." She leaned forward. "We remember that. We remember being abandoned. Never again. Not to anyone. Not while we can still fight." Naltros stared at her. Then he bowed his head. "My people have a saying. In the deepest water you learn who will dive with you. Humanity has dived very deep for us." He looked up. "How can we help?" "Tell me everything about the Krell," Ji-won said. "Everything you have learned. Every weakness you have found. We are going to kill every last one of them." The battle went on for days, then weeks. Commander Tae-yang led the capital ship group. He was older than most officers, had been passed over for promotion many times. Too cautious, they said, not aggressive enough. But Ji-won trusted him. The Krell superhive ship sat at the center of their formation. It was massive, the size of a moon. It birthed new Krell ships constantly. As long as it lived, the swarm would never end. "Admiral," Tae-yang called, "I have an idea, but you will not like it. Tell me." "My ship is heavily damaged. Engines at 40%. Weapons failing, but the reactor is still good." He paused. "If I can get close enough to that hive ship, if I ram it at full power, the explosion should crack it open. Your fighters could finish it." Ji-won closed her eyes. She had known Tae-yang for 15 years. He had a wife. 3 children. Grandchildren on the way. "There has to be another way," she said. "There is not," Tae-yang said gently. "You know there is not. We are running out of time. The Krell reinforcements are coming. This is our chance." His voice was calm. "It is my choice, Admiral. Let me make it." She wanted to say no. She wanted to order him back. But he was right. They were out of time. "Out of options, go," she whispered. Tae-yang's ship turned. Its damaged engines pushed it forward, slowly at first, then faster. The Krell saw it coming. They fired everything. The ship's shields collapsed. The hull began to break apart. But it kept going. "For those who have no one else," Tae-yang said over the open channel. Then his ship hit. The explosion lit up the entire planet. The hive ship cracked like an egg. Krell ships around it went dark. Their connection to the hive severed. "All fighters, attack now," Ji-won ordered through her tears. "Make it count." Hana led her squadron through the gap. They poured fire into the dying hive ship. It tried to defend itself, but without coordination, the Krell were just animals. Dangerous animals, but not an army. The hive ship broke apart. Green blood sprayed into space, freezing instantly. And one by one, the Krell ship stopped moving. On the ground, Hyunwoo watched the sky clear. The black masses stopped advancing. They shuddered and fell still. Behind him, what remained of his forces stood exhausted. Dr. June knelt beside a wounded Theros warrior. He had learned their biology through necessity, through trial and error, through watching some patients die so others could live. Now his hands moved with confidence as he sealed the wound. "Will he live?" Naltros asked. "Yes," June said. He looked up at the Theros leader. "You all will. Narados will live." Naltros looked around. His world was scarred. 3 of 5 continents consumed. Billions dead. Cities destroyed. But the sky was clearing. The Krell were retreating. And humans stood with them. These strange aliens who had come from nowhere to fight and die alongside them. "Why?" he asked again, softer this time. Hyunwoo heard the question. He thought about Commander Tae-yang. About the 5,000 humans who would never go home. About the choice humanity had made. "Because it was right," he said. "That is enough." Abandoned by the galaxy until humanity said, "We stand with you." Story outline. HFY Science Fiction, 5 parts. Part 1. The Fall of the Theros. Setting, the year is 2547. The Galactic Council controls most of known space, comprising 14 major species. The Theros, a peaceful aquatic species from the ocean world of Narration, have been valued members for 3 centuries. Inciting incident: the Theros homeworld is invaded by the Krell swarm, a parasitic hive mind species that consumes entire civilizations. The Theros send desperate pleas to the Galactic Council for military aid. Captain Hyunwoo of the human diplomatic vessel Resilience witnesses the Council's emergency session. The betrayal after deliberation. The Council votes 13-0, humanity abstaining to abandon the Theros. Their reasoning: the cost of war is too high, the Krell are too dangerous, and the Theros world is strategically insignificant. Council Chancellor Vextar coldly announces, "We must think of the greater good. Some sacrifices are necessary." Human response: Admiral Ji-won, commander of Earth's Third Fleet, watches the Council broadcast from her flagship. Her second-in-command, Commander Tae-yang, expects orders to stand down. Instead, she says, "Calculate jump coordinates to Narration. We're going in." Chapter end. Against direct Council orders, the entire human fleet, 127 vessels, mobilizes toward Narration. Earth's President Sung-ho addresses both humanity and the galaxy. "If the price of Council membership is abandoning the innocent, then we resign. Effective immediately." Part 2. The defense of Narration. Arrival. The human fleet arrives to find Narration half consumed. Millions of Theros refugees flee in generational ships while warrior pods fight a losing battle. Lieutenant Hana, a fighter pilot, is shocked by the devastation. The Krell have already consumed 3 of Narration's 5 continents. First contact: Admiral Ji-won establishes communication with Theros war leader Naltros, who weeps with relief and disbelief. "Why?" he asks. "You barely know us. Your council abandoned us. Why would you throw away everything?" Ji-won's response becomes legendary. "Because someone has to give a damn. Because we were once told we weren't worth saving either. Never again." The battle: humanity implements guerrilla tactics the galaxy has never seen. Captain Hyunwoo leads ground forces using something the Krell have never encountered: fire. On a water world, humanity brings thermite, napalm, and plasma weapons that boil the Krell hives from within. Engineer Minji develops a sonic resonance weapon that disrupts the Krell's hive communication. Meanwhile, Dr. June works frantically to save injured Theros, learning their biology in real time. Sacrifice: the battle turns when Commander Tae-yang deliberately crashes his dreadnought into the Krell's primary hive ship, creating an opening for the counterattack. His last transmission: for those who have no one else. Victory: after 6 weeks of brutal combat, the Krell are driven back. Humanity loses 34 ships and 12,000 personnel, but Narration is saved. The surviving Theros, nearly 2 billion, are alive because humanity stood alone. Part 3. The Galactic Reckoning. Aftermath. The galaxy watches in stunned silence as humans patrol Narration, rebuild infrastructure, and refuse all Council contact. Reporter Yuna broadcasts from the surface, showing humans and Theros working side by side. Her footage goes viral across every species' networks. Political earthquake: the Council fractures. 3 species, the Threnody, the Makir, and the Soleth, condemn the Council's decision and threaten to leave. Public protests erupt on core worlds. Citizens demand accountability. On Earth, Ambassador Daeho refuses all Council delegations. "We have nothing to say to cowards," he states plainly. The Krell Return Intelligence Officer Seo Jin discovers terrifying news. The Krell attack on Narration was merely a scouting force. The true swarm, numbering in the millions of ships, is coming, and their target is now the entire Galactic Council space, triggered by the defeat at Narration. Humanity's Gambit Admiral Ji-won proposes something radical to the reformed Theros government: a new alliance. Not of convenience, but of principle. We defend each other. No votes, no debates about strategic value. If you're in, you're in. Period. The Theros Accord is born, the first treaty of the post-Council era. Chapter end. The galaxy faces a choice: continue with the broken Council system, or join humanity's radical new model. As the Krell swarm approaches, 3 more species, including the warrior Threnody, sign the Theros Accord. Chancellor Vextar watches his empire crumbling, but refuses to acknowledge fault. Part 4. The Swarm Ascendant. The Gathering Storm. The Krell Swarm enters Council space with overwhelming force. Within weeks, 4 Council worlds fall. Billions die. The Council fleet suffers catastrophic losses. They've never faced an enemy that doesn't negotiate, doesn't retreat, and fights with suicidal determination. Strategist Minji, working from Earth Command, realizes the Council's naval doctrine is useless against the Krell. They fight for territory and prestige. The Krell fight to consume. Different war, different rules. Council's desperation Chancellor Vextar does the unthinkable. He sends an encrypted message to Earth, requesting aid. President Sung-Ho shares it publicly, unencrypted. The galaxy watches Vextar beg. Humanity's response shocks everyone. We will help. Not for you, Chancellor, for the billions of innocents you've failed to protect. The Alliance expands. The Theros Accord grows to 12 species. Each brings unique capabilities. The aquatic Theros excel at 3-dimensional combat thinking. The crystalline Threnody can survive in space without suits. Humanity brings something different: adaptability and the willingness to do what's necessary. Captain Hyun Woo, now promoted to general, trains mixed species units. Colonel Hana leads the Accord's first fully integrated carrier wing. The breakthrough Dr. June and Theros bioscientist Palmaner discover the Krell's weakness. They're evolutionarily optimized for certain environments but fragile outside them. The swarm can be beaten, but it requires luring them into specific kill zones. The Trap Admiral Ji-won proposes Operation Furnace. Deliberately sacrifice 6 systems to channel the Krell into a nebula cluster where the Accord fleet waits. It's brutal calculus: evacuate who they can, scorched earth for the rest. The Council would never make this choice. The Accord does. The engineer Minji develops the nebula ignition system. When the Krell enter the cluster, the Accord will turn an entire region of space into a stellar furnace. Chapter End. The evacuation begins. Millions of refugees flee toward Accord space while Council officials dither about property rights and sovereignty. The Krell follow, exactly as planned. But then scanners detect something. The swarm is 3 times larger than intelligence estimated. Even the trap might not be enough. Part 5. We stand with you, the final stand. The Accord fleet positions at the nebula cluster. Against them, the entire Krell swarm. Admiral Ji-won knows the truth. Even if Operation Furnace works, many Accord ships won't survive the ignition. She doesn't tell her captains the full casualty estimates. Captain Hyun Woo commands the ground forces on the Outer Rim worlds, covering the final evacuations. His message to Ji-won is simple: we'll hold. Do what you have to do. The Council's choice Chancellor Vextar faces his council for the last time. 12 species demand he resign. But Ambassador Daeho, present as an observer, stands and speaks. Blame him later. Right now you have a choice: fight with us or die alone. In a historic vote, the Council dissolves itself and places all military assets under Accord command. Vextar, stripped of power, volunteers to serve under Admiral Ji-won. She accepts. The Convergence, every species in the galaxy, even former Council members, sends their ships to the nebula. Lieutenant Yuna, now commanding her own vessel, marvels at the sight. Thousands of ships from dozens of species, united for the first time in galactic history. On the ground, General Hyun-woo's forces hold the final evacuation sites. Private Jiho, a young soldier, asks his sergeant, "Do you think we'll make it?" The sergeant, a Theros warrior named Kolrith, simply says, "We stand with you." That's enough. The ignition, the Krell enter the trap. Engineer Minji triggers the ignition sequence. The nebula erupts into a miniature star, consuming millions of Krell ships instantly. But the swarm is so vast that hundreds of thousands survive, crashing into the Accord fleet. What follows is the largest battle in galactic history. Ships from every species fight side by side. Humanity's tactics, Theros' instincts, Threnody warrior spirit, all merge into something unprecedented. The Turn Admiral Ji-won's flagship is boarded. She fights hand-to-hand with her crew against Krell warriors. Colonel Hana's wing is annihilated, but she rams her crippled fighter into a Krell hive node. Dr. June dies saving a Threnody medical team, but the Accord doesn't break. On the ground, General Hyun-woo's forces complete the final evacuation and board the last transports. As his ship lifts off, he watches the Krell overrun the planet below. Every soldier they lost bought time for refugees to escape. The victory. After 18 hours of continuous combat, the swarm breaks. The remaining Krell scatter into deep space, their hive mind shattered. The Accord fleet, battered and bloodied, holds the field. Casualties 340,000 Accord personnel. 200 ships destroyed. But the galaxy survives. Epilogue. A new dawn 1 year later, the Galactic Accord officially forms, not a council of votes and political games, but a confederation of mutual defense. The founding principle, carved into the monument on Neridos: we stand with you, always.